Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda, but you can call me MandoBug if you'd like. Today, my video is something a little different than usual. I'm trying to add more videos that are craft related, but slightly different than what you see on most craft channels. So recently, my grandmother passed away and I inherited a bunch of her crafting supplies, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. So my Grandma Sue is my stepdad's mom. My stepdad came into my life when I was so young that I don't really remember him ever not being a part of my life. And because of that, I basically just call him Dad. I don't know my biological father very well. Like, I know him, but I don't know him very well. There were long periods of time where he was not actively in my life, but my stepdad has been there the entire time, so I just call him Dad. As far as I'm concerned, he is Dad, and his mom was Grandma. Like, it doesn't matter that they're not technically blood related. That was my dad, or is my dad, and that is my grandma. So I spent a lot of time with her growing up, and she is the reason I started crocheting. Like, my early memories of her are like spending time with her at her house, or she would take us to the park a lot. She took us to Mud Mountain Dam, which is a park nearby, and Flaming Geyser, and my brother and I would go, and she would always bring this big bag full of yarn. She would just be working away on something. And one of the projects I remember her working on, like one of the first projects I remember her working on, was a blanket called Roses in Bloom. And I actually have the book that has the pattern in it. Let me grab that. So here is the pattern. So I remember her taking these Ziploc bags and crocheting all these flowers, and she just had a bag full of flowers. And eventually she completed this, and she gave it to my mom, I believe. So I think she has it somewhere. I don't have the pattern. But yeah, so like those are one of the earliest memories I have of her. And so eventually I learned to crochet because of her. And when I was in high school, we actually made dolls together. Well, not together, but we each made a doll, and then we entered them into the state fair together. So that was one of the other things that my grandma really liked to crochet, was dolls. And I just about died when I saw this book, because this is the doll that we made. Trying to keep the glare off of it. If you can't tell, that doll is like 2, almost 3 feet in size. Like, you see it sitting in the chair. It is huge. Now, I don't have my doll. I believe I gave it to her, and that's still in some of her storage. We have yet to go through all of her storage, but I believe the doll she made and the doll I made are both in her storage together. I know that I made mine a black blouse with an orange apron, and I think an orange hat and black hair. You know me, black and orange. I don't remember which color she chose, but we entered them in the fair together, and they're so unique that they didn't have a category for them, and so we technically competed against each other, and she beat me, which I'm really not surprised. It's so nice to have these things to remember her with, because, like, honestly, receiving all of her craft supplies is like a big hug. It's just really heartwarming. I don't want to get upset, but it makes me feel like she'll always be with me in my craft room, and that is so special. One of the things that makes it especially special is I found this. This is a cross stitch that she had done and hung up in her craft room, and I am so excited to hang this up with my cross stitch and my embroidery work when I have a craft room again. Currently, I'm still staying at my dad's place, but as soon as we can get a place, this is going up, and it's really nice because she'll always be with me. Now, I've mentioned previously in a couple videos that my very first project ever was embroidery. It was an embroidery kit that she gave me, and I did it a little bit, but I was really too young to have the patience to do it the way that I wanted it to be done. I've slowly refined my issue with perfection. Like, I used to be such a perfectionist that it always had to be perfect, and I still have that a little bit, but I've tried to tone it down a little bit to allow for mistakes. And but when I was younger, it was definitely not an option to have anything less than perfect. And so it didn't really work out for me. But upon going through her things, I realized something I didn't notice as a child. She was really good at embroidery, and I always saw her as a crocheter. I always thought she was like crochet all the time, but she did a lot of embroidery and a lot of nice work. So I inherited a ton of whips, a ton. And I'm super excited over time to complete these. I mean, here's some of them. These are just some of her whips. And this is the project that I'm most excited to finish of hers. She left it here on this frame, which is really nice because you can scroll up and down the fabric. This is probably the less plastic way of the Q-snap. But you can see close up like how nice her stitches were. Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. This is what the pattern looks like in its entirety, and it reads, "All things bright and beautiful, all things great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all." And this is just so gorgeous. This is something that I would pick out myself, and I'm really excited to finish it and hang it up in my future craft room right next to her sign. And it's very special because it will be a joint project. The other thing is I didn't show you the back. Like, look at that. That's the back. Are you kidding me? Look at that. My backs never look like that. That's ridiculous. So, I mean, she was just absolutely amazing. And going through the books, I found a ton of embroidery stitch dictionaries and 100 Stitches You Don't Know and da-da-da, like all those popular stitch books and stitch dictionaries. She has them all, and it's just amazing now to inherit that from her and finish her projects. I have mentioned in the past that, well, here, let me show you. So if you've seen my previous podcasts and been with me for a while, you will recognize this. So this was a project I put together for her. She had severe, like, I'm not kidding you guys, severe rheumatoid arthritis. Her hands became completely deformed. They had a giant dip right in the center, right here, where, like, you would look at her hands, it would look like this, but then her knuckles were ridged up, and it caused her to lose a bunch of pressure in her fingertips, and she eventually was no longer able to crochet or cross stitch or embroider. And as she was losing those abilities, she was doing everything she could to work around it. And she asked me to transfer a cross stitch pattern onto monk's cloth so that she could stitch it with yarn, so that she could still do her crafts. And so I outlined it all, I colored some of it, left a lot of it uncolored for her to use her imagination with which colors to use, sent her a bunch of my acrylic scraps, and there's not a stitch on here. I don't think she was able to do it. So despite her best efforts, she tried to continue to embroider or craft as long as she could. But I found some of these embroidery pieces that she had been doing, and I believe that it's hand embroidery for a quilt. and I am so excited to take the ones that she's completed, finish the rest, make a quilt and stitch it. And I mean, there's no better way to cherish the memory of someone than this. Like, I don't know what people do when their family members don't craft. I mean, I guess there's always different ways of having your way to remember them and to, you know, to cherish that love forever. But I feel so honored that I get to remember her with her crafts. Like, I'm extremely lucky that nobody else in my family crafts. But anyways, I wanted to share these quilt squares with you guys. I mean, how amazing is that? It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the back. I mean, look at that. Look at those roses. This one's one of my favorites. So cute. Like, look at the yarn up close. There's just something about embroidered flowers. Look at those. Look at the basket. She has another strawberry basket she was working on, and she had an owl in a bag. And then here are the rest of the squares. Some more strawberries, some more baskets. So I'm looking forward to completing these and putting together a quilt. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to make this video to share with you guys some of the crafting stuff that I've got and why, because I know that these will show up in my videos in the future, and I really don't want to explain it all every time. I just kind of wanted to put it all in one video. Also, I kind of wanted to share this with you guys in loving memory of my grandma and her lovely crafts, since she will be producing no longer. She did amazing work, and I'm so fortunate that she was a part of my life and kind of set me on this path. So really, I just wanted to dedicate this video to her.